guys, welcome. I have so much to talk about in this video. I am talking about the whole L'Oreal Infallible Paints line. And you know what's funny about this? When this came out, the first thing that my mind went to was back when L'Oreal released that HIP line, high intensity pigments. Anybody remember that from like the 90s, I don't know, early 2000s? And it was all about like bolder colors. They had those great like eyeshadow duos. They actually had an amazing mascara that I loved in that line, and those little like jelly pot lip balms. So many cool things. And I was kind of sad to see that range leave L'Oreal's line, but I feel like with the Infallible Paints, it's almost like they're bringing back that bolder makeup concept, but just with a little bit different selection of products. So I was sent this whole like spread from L'Oreal PR, and I got it, I think it was more toward the start of this year when things were really going crazy, you know, new baby and all that stuff. Not that I don't still have a new baby on my hands, but I just really hadn't had the time to play with all this stuff till now. So I wanted to give you a full review on the double-ended eye colors. There's also a bunch of lip colors and eyeliner pens, and then I also have a blush palette too. So there's tons to talk about. I'm going to be whipping through some shades pretty quickly in this video, but I will definitely be taking the time to explain what I think about these formulas and the way they wear. I've really been experimenting and actually having a ton of fun with the things from this line. And I am wearing these products on my eyes, cheeks, and lips, so there will be a demo for this eye look. I'll show, you know, the blush application that I'm wearing today and a full try-on of all these lip colors, even this, you know, teal shade here. Why not? So I want to talk about these cream eyeshadows first. There are 12 different shades, and they're really cool. Some of them, it's like kind of a complementary thing on each end. You know, the shades coordinate and look nice together, but they're not necessarily in the same color family like this one. And then there are others where it's maybe a light shade and then a little bit deeper take on that same color. While I might throw around the word like liquid eyeshadow for these, they're not a true like thin liquid. They're more of a cream, and they really do set to a long wearing finish on the skin. And I have worn these like all day long, and I can truly say they do not move, they do not change. It's a fine line with products like this. I feel like certain things that I try that are in this format, certain ones don't set on you and they get really, really creasy. These absolutely do, but they give you enough time to work with them and kind of blend them out on the eyes. Like, while I know they eventually set to this budge-free state, I don't feel like I have to hurry as I'm doing my eye look with these. But my favorite way to use these paints is either as a pop on the lid, like I'll do powder shadow to maybe get a little light crease color going, and then I'll do this as a full-on like pop shade on the lid. Or I really like it as eyeliner, either across the upper lash line or as, you know, a lower liner type pop as well. Some of the bright colors look really beautiful in that way. And because they do last so long, I'm not scared to put one, you know, full on the lower lash line. As far as a primer goes with these, it does not matter. Like, I don't need to put a primer on with these products. When we're talking about powder eyeshadows, I think primer really helps. I think primer can sometimes help some cream shadows that don't totally set, but because these are so full color on their own and they do completely get to this budge-free place, I don't even find a primer to be necessary with these. And bottom line, they're just fun. Like, I don't know if it's just the different consistency or the shade range. Maybe it's a combination of both, but I have had so much fun playing with these on the eyes, coming up with different looks, using them as that pop on the lid, blending one shade into the next. You do really feel kind of like you're painting with these. I've been using my Real Techniques brushes a lot. I think any synthetic brush, you know, paired with these kinds of creams works well for blending, and these clean off really, really easily. I've got this brush that's the shading brush, and it's just really nice for colors on the lid. If I want to buff anything out a little bit more, this base shadow brush is nice, and you'll see in my demo I also used a little like e.l.f. smudger brush that worked well. But I do want to take you through some quick swatches of all of these shades. There are certain colors that I might refer to as matte, and if you look up at them like super duper closely, maybe you see like the teeniest bit of a potential satin finish on those, but still I do feel kind of safe in calling some of these shades matte, and then some are definitely like a shimmer shimmery or metallic finish. So the lightest duo is called Cool Ivory. I love this one. You've got a really light pearl color and then a little bit more of a champagne shade, and both of those have a lot of shimmer. Then with Nude Fishnet, we have like this matte beige color, and alongside that is a deeper beige with shimmer. Some really fun pops with Jet Set Blonde. Here you've got a light like white frost and then this matte yellow, and the matte yellow really does show up with a lot of intensity. And for my warm color lovers, Sunset Fire, here you've got this peachy shimmer and then a little bit deeper, richer peach with still a little bit of a sheen to it, but not quite as much as the lighter color has. There's a nice matte neutral duo with Brown Sugar. Here you've got a light matte brown and then a deeper, just richer chocolatey brown. Aqua Aura gives you kind of a soft peach, but there's not too much orange in this peach, and it's more toward the matte side. And also this matte teal. This is a really interesting duo. I enjoyed working this into one of my looks I did earlier in the week. And then Navy Yard is kind of like the deeper take on that duo. The lighter end of this one is a little more pinky and it does have shimmer. And then there's this gorgeous navy blue that has a beautiful sheen to it as well. If you're a big blue fan, BRB Blue has two tones of light blue. One is this really soft periwinkle with shimmer, and the other is this more pure sky blue shade. I think that one's really pretty. Then Shady Violet has two creamy purple shades, and neither of them seem super frosty to me. One just a really light lilac. One is a bit closer to a true purple, but it still has a little bit of softness to it. I am so excited to play with the shade Mint Detox. Here we've got a really pretty jade green color, and then the darker end has some shimmer, and this makes me think of a pretty emerald green. Army Camo, we're talking a nice creamy murky kind of olive green, and then the deeper shade is a little bit more of a true greenish olive shade, and that does have shimmer. And then the last one is Mistress Noir. Both shades are very dark, but the lighter of the two seems like a deep charcoal with just a hint of green and a little bit of shimmer, and then a pure black. Now for today's look, I worked in two of these. I used Navy Yard and I used BRB Blue, and I just want to walk you through how I did this first. And one way that I do like to use these, if I plan to have a pop on the lid, I like to use kind of a matte shadow to work into my crease. So I use this quad from Physicians Formula called Quartz Quartet, and I use that kind of deep dusty rose shade, and then I use the beige for a bit of a highlight up under the brow. And then from the Navy Yard duo, I used some of that rosy shade, kind of like a rosy peach, and I just dabbed it on the lid, and then I used my brush to blend it out. Sometimes I just like to dab my brush directly on the applicator, or you can dab the applicator on your eye and blend from there. You can use your fingers with these too, but I do think the brushes give me a little extra control. And then from the BRB Blue duo, I used the deeper of the two blues just on the outer part of my lid. I just thought it might be fun to do a little side by side there with those two. And then to make everything look just a little more finished, I used the deeper shade from that Quartz Quartet just with a small crease brush on the outer corner. I thought that helped complete the upper part of the eye a little bit more. I used the black liner, which I'll talk more about the liners in a second, but I went all the way across my upper lash line with that. I used a blue pencil liner from Makeup Forever in my lower inner rim, and then I went to this gorgeous, rich, shimmery navy from the Navy Yard duo, and I used that under the wing and just pretty much smudged all across the lower lash line. And then I thought it might be fun to take the lightest end. Sorry we're switching back and forth so much, but the lightest end of the BRB Blue, I used that to overlap the innermost part of my lower lash line and just kind of encircle the tear duct area. And then I used black mascara top and bottom, some Ardell Wispies on my upper lashes, and the finished look I think is just a lot of fun. It kind of makes me think of that unicorn vibe, on the upper part of the eye with that pinky peach and the blue side by side, but then I love the intensity of the deeper blue on the lower lash line. And then earlier in the week, I did a really bright look. I worked in like 3 of these. I did some of the yellow from the Jet Set Blonde on my eye. Then I worked in the blue from the Aqua Aura duo and the purples for the lower lash line. I ended up with kind of an unintentional Mardi Gras type look, but those shades wore so well. Like, that look at the end of the day looked the same as it did right at the start. So I was so proud of how well these lasted. The other look that I did that I really liked, I just did some matte neutral shadow in the crease, and I popped Cool Ivory on my lids. I think it was mostly this champagne shade, and then I used a little bit of the lightest one more toward the inner corner, and that was a really pretty look as well because this popped so much, really more than most like powdery shadows in this same tone might, and I just thought that was gorgeous and it wore really well for me too. So I love to see so much consistency in this line with the way that they wear. The colors are really fun. Even if you're more into the neutrals, I think there's something in this line for you as well. I just wanted to mention, of the ones that I've used so far, I really liked Cool Ivory because I think these are just great shades to have in this format. These light shimmery tones, they're fun to pop on the lid. I'm excited to play with that yellow some more throughout the summer. It's just a fun color that I don't work with as much, and I think it's hard to find really strong yellow powder shadows, but in this cream it's really good. And then Navy Yard, this beautiful shimmery navy is so gorgeous. Some navies get too close to black and they don't even show up as navy, but this one really has some pretty blue in there, and then I like the peachy pink on this other end. But a couple of shades that I haven't used yet that I suspect I'm going to love would be this Sunset Fire duo for a nice orangey look, and then Mint Detox. I think those greens are top notch. Oh, but I do love Shady Violet too. I forgot about that one. This one was so pretty to work with on my lower lash line the other day. Now these liners, the Infallible Paints liners, here we have 6 shades. You've got a black, you got a white, and then everything else is more of like a greenish blue. There's this forest green. There are a couple of blue shades that are, you know, really intense blues. These are felt tip liners. I do really like the way it's a pretty long felt tip, so if you're one like me who kind of likes to lay these on their side to go across your lash line, you can definitely take advantage of that, and there's not that steep jump off. While I like the tips of these, they're not maybe quite as juicy as I would like them to be, because I do think it's a little bit harder going across a cream shadow that's set than it is to go across a powder shadow. Like, there's just a little more texture that these have to go across. So if you are thinking of pairing these with these creams, you might notice that little bit of difficulty. It's like a little bit of a tug across the lash line. Also, small complaint on the white. When I did a really colorful look and I went all across my lash line with this, it definitely picked up some of that color, and instead of looking like a stark white, it picked up like some of the bluish green color that I had used on my eye that day. So that was a little bit disappointing. I think if you're going to use a white liquid liner, you might look for one that's more like going out of an inkwell type design. You know what I mean? That way there's just a little more juicy liquid to go across it, and I think this felt tip kind of, it creates a little more friction across the eyelid and can pull some color up. But one of these shades, you know, might be exactly what you're looking for. They are some kind of unique and different colors. I'm excited to use this wild green. It's like a really nice forest green. Something else that I did notice just in the swatches on my hand, if you just get a little bit of liquid in touch with these, they can break down kind of easily, so they don't feel like a full-on waterproof liquid liner to me. So keep that in mind if that's your expectation. This blush palette. Absolutely love this blush palette, and I had walked past this in the store and I think I'd seen it online and just for whatever reason assumed it was a cream blush palette. I think they made these shades so like intense and so matte, it's like you glance at them and you don't even see like that powder stamping, you know, like the little texture that the top of a powder has. If you look really close at it, you can see the little lines, but at a glance it just seems like solid creams. But these are really nicely pigmented matte blushes, and today with my look I chose to use some of this peach color. Thought it gave a nice fresh pop to the cheeks. I've used that multiple times and really enjoyed it. And then I worked in a little bit of this rosy shade down here at the other end, and I used that a bit lower on the cheeks and just kind of blended the two together. In between those two though, as you'll see in my swatches, you've got a really bold coral and then more of a bright pink, and these shades, they don't apply like exactly as intense as they look in the palette, and for me, you know, that's good for blush. I don't want to have like that tone of pink, you know, on my cheeks, but that color of pink sheared out can look so fresh and beautiful. They give you a teeny tiny brush here that's of course one of those blunt cut, way too small to do anything type brushes, so I'm not really sure why they bothered with that. But in terms of the quality of these blushes, this was really nice to see. Now if you strictly like to use peachy tones and you don't think you get use out of the pinks here, or vice versa, you know, this may not be for you. You're maybe better off just grabbing one individual blush out there. But if you really tend to enjoy bouncing back and forth between all of these tones, I think you might like this palette because the pigmentation is really strong, but yet it's not overpowering. It's not difficult to work with on the cheeks, so I love that. I was very impressed. Another thing that I was so happy with from this line is the formula in these Infallible Paints lip colors. The best way I can describe these would be if you took a lipstick, like a solid cream lipstick, and like melted it down in the microwave. I feel like that's what you would have here because these are a shiny, like lip lacquer type of feel, but they're not sticky at all. For the fullness of color that all of these have, I'm really surprised that they're not more thick and sticky and uncomfortable because they're so opaque. You'll see that in the try-on. They're just really true to the outer color that you see here on the plastic. They're definitely far from being one of those liquid lipsticks that sets dry and matte. I mean, there's no dry down with these. They're just like a creamy, more toward a gloss, but a very, like I said, full color opaque type gloss. I was imagining that these would be that format where you take the cap off, and because this, you know, looks and feels like a squeezy tube, it might squeeze up through a little doe foot type thing, but you actually have a wand and doe foot applicator here, and the way the applicator is, it's almost like a little scoop, and more often than not with these, I feel like I can apply it and not have to go back for more product because that scoop actually holds a decent amount. So with pretty much one swipe, I get full color from a glossy type texture all over my lips, and I don't have to go back for more. That's kind of a big deal, and the comfort on my lips, you know, they're just thick enough to hang in there, but not so thick that they feel uncomfortable. And when I look up close at my lips, like this shade, this spicy blush, this was the first one I was really drawn to. This is really the one that I think so many, like any person could really wear. And I look up close at my lips and they just look perfect. It's like that perfect, not too shiny, but not matte and dry either. It's just like the best balance. So yeah, the formula on these is just delightful. It's just a matter of which shades do you like. But I'm gonna go through and try all these on for you. I'm gonna be pretty quick with my descriptions, and then I'll go back and tell you about some other favorites that I have. But that spicy blush, pretty unbeatable if you're a nude lip fan. It's nude with a hint of pink, kind of a dusty pink though, definitely not like a bright cupcake type pink. What is a cupcake type pink though? I don't even know what I mean by that. Nude Star is going to be that spice type color, you know, a little bit deeper, but still very neutral. Then we've got Taupeless, and this is your grayish neutral shade. Not sure how comfortable I am with that color personally, but it's definitely one of those trendy shades that a lot of people are into right now. Now getting more into the pink family, we've got Wild Rose. This one strikes me as like Barbie pink. It's true pink. By the way, no shimmer in any of these shades. Then Fearless Fuchsia. I love how intensely bright this is. I think with a super simple eye, this would be such a pretty shade. And then for a richer berry shade, we've got Sultry Sangria. I think this is stunning as well. This is the type of shade I'm typically drawn to, like in fall and winter. Several orangey red shades in this range. We've got Cool Coral that strikes me as just a straight up orange. Sometimes I think of corals as having a little more pink involved, but this is just very orangey. But then orange gets even more saturated with the Orange Envy shade. You know, just a deeper take on that same kind of tone, but both are very pretty, very on point for this time of year. And then DIY Red is going to be a warm red. Definitely one of my favorites out of this whole collection. I think it just totally pops on the face, and I would give this one a little bit of a blot. Some of the fullest color ones here, I feel more comfortable blotting them off so I don't have as much shine or as much risk of them wearing outside the lips. Now we got some purples, Lilac Lust, just an absolute pure, true lilac shade. I actually kind of like that one. I might actually consider blending it in with this next one, Violet Twist. Totally love this shade. It's like a purpley with a little bit of a berry involved there. So I think that makes it a little more wearable in my eyes. Bewitching Bordeaux, like we're talking a dark kind of vampy purpley shade. This one might have been the only case where I thought the application was a little bit on the streaky side. So I had to be a bit more careful with the way I built this up because you don't want too much product on because then it can actually look even more streaky, but you just want a nice evenness of color. So for the fact that this one is so dark, it was a bit harder to achieve. But then we got a couple blues here. We've got Domineering Teal. It's just teal. It's so odd to try to describe these because they really are what you see is what you get. There's not a lot of further description needed. This is teal for your lips. And then Navy Spy, beautiful navy lip color. I like this so much more than I expected I would. And oddly enough, I didn't feel like this was as streaky as the Bewitching Bordeaux shade. So I'm not sure what's happening formula-wise there. They feel the same, but this one just applied more evenly. So while there are some fun shades in here that are really fun to play with and just like see how they look on your face, my three favorites just for wearability, things that I realistically think I'm going to get good use out of, and I just love these colors, they would be the Spicy Blush, Fearless Fuchsia, that's the brightest pink in this collection, and I see that just being awesome with a simple eye. Like we're just talking a winged liner and maybe some lashes and then that on the lips. I think that's gorgeous. And I also love Violet Twist. And that, my friends, is all from this L'Oreal Paints line. Again, some really impressive things happening. I absolutely love what's going on with those cream shadow duos and how you have the time to have some blendability with them, but yet they set and they wear so well throughout the day. They're so true to the color you expect that you're going to get with them. And same deal with the lip colors here too. I mean, was it not a total what you see is what you get with these different colors? So I love the formula. I think it looks really nice and juicy on the lips. If you do opt for one of the more bold or deep shades, I think you may want to blot it off just a little bit, just so you don't risk, you know, that color transferring off, because obviously it is a glossy finish product. Blush palette is money. I love this. I think it's just beautiful. I like this bright shade range, but I like that they're still easy to put on, and they actually are something that I can see myself wearing on a daily basis. The eyeliners, like I said, you might try them out if you're looking for one of those really specific colors, but that felt tip, particularly on top of some of these cream shadows after they set, that felt tip doesn't glide quite as nicely along the upper lash line as I would like. So thank you guys so much for your time today. I hope this video was useful. If you hadn't yet really investigated the Infallible Paints line, I definitely think there are some cool things to look into here. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye.